What to do, what to do. This is the Brothers on Books podcast where we find great books that will give you real value and actionable steps and have fun in the process. Please reach out to us at brothersonbooks@gmail.com for any book recommendation or if you would like to be a guest host for a particular book you have in mind. A great review or rating on whichever platform you're listening to would be greatly appreciated. Lastly, if you can think of any friend, family member, or coworker that might like this episode, please pass it along. If it's a dark and stormy night and you need a drink to warm the depths of your hearts, we at the Brothers on Books go with Encha Matcha, the best matcha for the best brothers. And now our listeners will get 10% off when they use the link or the coupon code in the show notes. I'm Alex Owa, and with me as always is my brother Jack Owa. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Al. Another great book we have, and I'm excited to discuss it.
What are we doing, I guess?
We are discussing Steal Like an Artist.
I Austin Kleon.
This was one of your creative picks.
Yeah, I guess I picked this. I don't know. I was feeling almost like it's hard to say. I was feeling like almost stifled at work. Like my creative juices had like ceased to going. I would look at things that used to excite me at work, and I just didn't seem the same. I didn't feel the same like vigor that I feel like I used to feel. So I was just curious about how to maybe jumpstart that process, which is kind of how I guess this is the first creativity book that we've done on this
Mhm.
series. So I was just thinking about maybe ways of how to jumpstart that process of getting like creativity going. And that's how I kind of came across this genre.
I
So I
thought it
guess,
did a sufficient job at doing that, honestly, because I felt invigorated after reading this.
yeah, so I
And
guess
it's a
like
short
the,
read. It's like an entertaining read. He's got like all these like pictures and diagrams and cool cutouts. It's like very, yeah, easy to digest book.
yeah, I think it took me an hour and a half to read. So very, very quick. Uh,
Yeah.
very easy. So I guess like the main or one of the main topics that I was sort of interested in, or I guess one of the main points, I mean, the book itself is broken up into, I guess, 10 chapters, which are as follows, like steal like an artist, don't wait until you know who you are to get started, write the book you want to read, use your hands, side projects and hobbies are important. The secret, do good work and share with people. Geography is no longer a master. Be nice, be boring, and then creativity is subtraction. So I personally felt like one of the main takeaways I had is, I guess, Jack, like, what would you say is originality? Like, what are original ideas? Where do they come from?
Stealing from others. Stealing
Right,
from many people. Steal from
right.
one person, they call that plagiarism. Steal from a
Plagiarism,
hundred people, they call that
right?
originality.
Or they call
I
it
thought that was a
research.
great way
Yeah,
to sum it up.
I think that's the main point, and I think a lot of times people get stuck on this of trying to do something new and innovative, where I think the point he's making is that essentially everything is built on the backs of others. Like it's I don't remember who the like the Walking with Giants. Do you know what I'm talking about, that book? Or Standing on the Shoulders of Giants?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. It's like the concept of building off of other people. So I thought that was like a really interesting point. I guess, I don't know, would you have, I guess just to start with, like, I don't know, do you think there's anything, where do you feel like you found inspiration from? Or like, where did some of your ideas come from?
Mhm. Books. And I would say oftentimes watching people do something that I don't think is possible. Like but the best example I can give is I I did not really like running long distances outside of training for soccer for a long time. And when I watched Jesse Itzler, who's he's a great businessman, but he also owns, I think, the Atlanta Hawks now. Um, when he described how he ran, I think it's multiple ultra marathons now, like 100 milers. Um, and I watched a couple YouTubes on that. I remember being really influenced, and I was like, "There's no reason I shouldn't be able to at least do a half marathon." And that's what got me like started at thinking I should do that. Because you just like see one person do something, and I think even in this book they talked about how was it the sub 4 minute mile used to be like
That wasn't,
incomprehensible.
yeah, that wasn't in this book, but they that was talked about how no one believed someone could run a sub 4 minute mile, and then once I'm blanking on the guy's name, did it,
Once,
like five other
no,
people like immediately did it.
yeah, I think he actually did bring that up in this book.
Okay, if he did,
Um,
then I missed it. I don't remember him bringing that
yeah,
up.
um, but yeah, I mean the idea of just and also like yeah, just borrow. The word like steal is kind of like a strong word in my mind. I mean, he did talk about in the book why he said like steal like an artist. In my mind, it's kind of like you're. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I really feel like I'm stealing stuff from other people. I'm more like borrowing and kind of tinkering with ideas that people have brought up. Um,
I think of it
but
as like incorporating, uh,
yeah.
like when you, I don't know, when I when I view other people and like how they live or even like what they do, if I see something that someone else is doing that I like, I try to incorporate it into my own life. I don't view it as like
Mhm.
I'm stealing their right. I don't view it as like I'm stealing part of them. I just view it as like I'm like making an amalgamation almost of like what I want the optimal thing to be. Um,
Mhm. I mean, what do you think about he's basically saying um everyone's stealing from everyone else. Nothing is completely original. He's saying originality is undetected plagiarism, basically. How do you
well, what we call originality is undetected plagiarism, is what he's saying.
yeah, I don't um yeah, I mean I kind of have like a cognitive dissonance because we kind of talk about um like protecting people's thoughts, like in terms of like patents and stuff. And I feel like I've struggled with this for like months now, ever since we read that book, Road to Freedom, or the whatever the Stiglitz book was. But this idea that a lot of those,
Road to
um,
Serfdom. Or not Road to Serfdom. Was it Road to
no,
Serfdom?
I think it was
No,
Road
no,
to
no, no.
Freedom.
Road to Freedom. Yeah, Road to Serfdom's the
Yeah, yeah,
Hayek book.
yeah. So this idea that like some things, it does seem like it's just like free reign, like just steal, or like take my idea, take my formula. And then like when he talks about in the Stiglitz book, he's kind of saying it on the one hand, like the people, like certain drug companies, for example, use software that is not really protected. But then when they make the drug built off of the software that the company is using, then that is protected. So like in my mind, like why is everything not like free to be built upon? That's kind of like the part where I kind of struggle with in this, but I kind of agree. Like, I mean, everyone's taken from everyone else, like bits and pieces. So, um, yeah, I'll shut up for a sec.
I guess like I mean like one so we talked briefly about this off screen, but he talks about building this like a genealogy of like artists you like,
Hmm.
sort of to steal off of. And this concept like really resonated with me. This was like kind of actually how we were taught how to study in grad school, as weird as it sounds. Like we were told to essentially look at a professor, trace back who they trained, and like trace back people that were like trained under like the same type of professor as them, and then you could just see the similarities in like everyone's research. So like not to get like too technical, but like someone that did chemistry with like nickel, if that was like the main influence on their lab, someone they trained, they would then go on to do like, sort of very similar chemistry with like palladium. And it would just keep going down and down the path where you have like all these people that are trained in like a similar way, but you can kind of map out, the genealogy. So we always called these, like your scientific family or scientific genealogy on just mapping it back. And you could see the similarities into how people did work, really, based on their training. And I kind of felt like he was sort of saying the same thing. He was saying you should focus on an artist that you really like and see who they really liked. And you go back and map all their work, and you can kind of get a take on the influences they felt. And then that more or less shapes, your own work. I don't know. I guess thoughts.
Mhm. No, yeah, it's like kind of like the grassroots level of like a mastery is like go to where your where the people you admire studied and figure out what they did in the beginning. I always think back to the mastery book, like just basic things that will help you get better, like building a cube out of wood, um, can help you with tons of carpentry like skills. And so I guess okay, so now like what would be the people that you would want to research to figure out like outside of chemistry I'm talking, I guess. Like which people would you want to try to emulate and which where would you want to go down the rabbit hole?
I mean, in terms of like, I don't know, in like different aspects of my life, like the people that I'm interested in like in investing, like Kiyosaki and Rich Gammon, Peter Schiff, like I feel like those are the main people that I kind of listen to from a finance standpoint. And I more or less kind of shape how I invest my money based on what they say. So I feel like they without a doubt influence me, right? They influence my decisions. I guess to a lesser
Mhm.
extent, some of like the investor podcast. I mean, I don't really listen to the investor podcast that much anymore, but some of the Bitcoin people, I guess, but Kiyosaki and Gammon both talk about Bitcoin. Well, actually, all of them talk about Bitcoin. Shift just in a negative light. Uh, I mean, also it's sort of dictated. I guess we'll get into this later about this concept of like, I have written down as like create what you like. The chapter in the book is write the book you want to read, where I feel like he was sort of going a little ahead now, but he was talking about you should do essentially you whatever you're creating, it should be what you want to do. And I feel like that is somewhat antithetical to what others say, which is like find a niche and then just fill the niche, but it has no emphasis on like whether or not you enjoy that space. But I guess to be fair, like the thing that, when I haven't obviously I've been working on it for a long time and I obviously haven't finished it. But what I was trying to write was essentially, what interested me, which was, house hacking and my time in grad school. That was what I was trying to write a book about. And I'm assuming what you wrote your book about and what, your wife wrote her book about are the things that really interested you guys.
That's yeah, interesting. The book, so my book writing process, I would say was more to help me evaluate the actual decisions I made. Because I thought I was pretty rational, but I just wanted to like hammer it out and like prove to myself that I thought I made good decisions, even though may have lost some money. So for me, it was kind of like it is something I would have wanted to read like 10 years before I wrote it, like as I was a younger person. So I guess from that perspective, it was something I would have wanted to read. But maybe it wasn't the book I wanted to read at the point when I wrote it. But yeah, I appreciate his point, and like I am thinking more about like something I would want to like more. And going back to the last discussion with Bob O'Connor, like he kind of talked about how he was so thrilled and enjoyed the process of the research.
Right.
So, like, when you're thinking about writing the book you want to read, like, think about what do you want to research? What would you enjoy researching? Like, stuff, yeah, topics that you don't currently know the information that you can go search and then teach other people. So yeah, I like that message.
I mean,
And for Elena, yeah, she definitely wanted to share her knowledge with fasting in Austria with the world because especially in America, we don't really hear about fasting like the way they talk about it in Europe.
not only was he talking about just writing books, he was talking about anything. He was talking about
True.
I think he said run the business you want to run, invent the product like essentially invent the product that you want to use. And
Hmm.
this also like, you know, one of my buddies just texted me out of the blue, like, I'm feeling like so bored at work. I think I want a new job. And just kind of like, I was just kind of like, man, you want to just start a business together? And he's like, well, like, what would we do? And we both play a lot of pickleball. And I was like, let's just do something with pickleball. And I just started thinking about like some type of invention that could help, like that could help me train, or like, that could be useful to me. Like, uh, plus,
Hmm.
I feel like it almost makes you more invested in the product if you want it. Like if you have a love for it, I feel like try a little bit harder at it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing like similar story, like you play a lot of pickleball. I mean, for well, like 2 years now, I've been like flipping land, and like sometimes when I encounter like a problem, if I can try to make a tool for that problem, I try to do it. And like an example would be like, there are certain times where I'm only sending out like 5 or 6 letters. Like I just want to send out to neighbors of the parcel that I purchased. And I don't like the current tools that cost a lot of money. You have to pay like a per month thing, and you don't even know if you'll be sending out letters. So I made like an Excel workbook that helps like spit out all of the neighbor letters, like a very tool, like a quick tool. And I started selling it for 20 bucks a pop. And I've gotten some sales within the land flipping community. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that was like something I like, not just I wanted, I needed, I felt. Um, so yeah, it's cool what you can come up with when I guess you want something or need it.
Yeah, I guess the one of the last on the like sort of on the stealing part, I guess on page 39,
Hmm.
he has listed like good versus bad types of theft. So like
Hmm.
under good theft, he says like honor. So like honor what you're like taking from study. Like he had a big emphasis on like doing a deep dive study into into the others' work that you're essentially emulating. Steal from many, give them all credit, transform them. So sort of like you're taking from a lot of sources and creating something new from all of it.
Hmm.
And remix is more or less that final point. And then versus bad is like you're degrading it, like so you're not doing it justice. Instead of doing a deep dive in the material, you're just like skimming it on the top, only stealing from one. So this is legitimately would be plagiarism. Uh, and then imitate and then rip off. I guess it is a good point of like, if if you take if you take from one person, it's bad. But I guess what he's saying, if you take from a lot of people, it's just viewed well. Or maybe people just don't
I,
recognize it. I don't
I would
know.
say it's viewed as he's saying it's viewed as being original, but when you break it down, it's still, I think his word of steel is a bit harsh, but like you're kind of you are like, using ideas from that other people have thought of.
Yeah, I mean, I was I was putzing around on the internet this morning, and I don't know if you've ever seen that clip where those three guys do all the like pop songs in the last 20 years from the four chords. You know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about? Yeah,
yeah.
it's like kind of the same thing. It's like at a certain point, is it even really stealing? There's a finite amount of, you know, there's a finite amount of things that can be done. I just thought of this question. Is it possible that someone could come to an idea? Do you think it's possible that someone could come to an idea independently of others, even if they've already had it?
Well, don't we know that to be kind of true because haven't like certain populations that have been separated by, huge land masses before the internet kind of developed similar things?
Yeah, right.
So I
I'm
guess,
just saying, like, don't you think that's a possibility that like they're not really, or do you think musicians just hear these chords and they're like, okay, let's just put them together?
well, I think, well, anyone taking like a music theory class, a lot of the chord progressions are kind of, there is a reason certain chord progressions sound good, and that's kind of like how we're just like wired. So a lot a lot of musicians will use the same chord progressions. They might be in a different key, they might play at different tempos, but a lot of the progressions are the same. Um, so yeah, I mean, but what was the question actually?
I mean, you answered the question. You answered in the affirmative.
Okay.
The question was, do you think people can just independently come to the same idea? Because
I
the thing
mean,
that always
uh-huh.
comes to my mind was the concept of like house hacking. Like I never, I didn't listen when I bought my first house. I didn't listen to Bigger Pockets. I wasn't in any of these communities, and I just distinctly remember I was thinking about getting a house. I remember my girlfriend at the time was going to be moving out of the city. I remember thinking I was starting grad school, so I knew I was going to be in the city for at least probably 4 or 5 years. And I saw that I could get a house for at the time, $200,000, and that mortgage payment would be the same as my rent. And I just remembered we were splitting rent at that time. And I just thought, like, well, if I get a house with more bedrooms, I can just rent out those rooms. And instead of us splitting the rent when she's not there, like other people will just be paying me. And I don't know, like, it's possible, like, I was influenced by others, but I don't remember any friends that I had doing that. Like, maybe I didn't, but it sure felt like it came to me into that idea. It felt like it came to me independent of others. Like it's not some like incredible novel idea, but I feel like you bring up house hacking to a lot of people and they just look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, perhaps. Um, I mean, we did have the benefit of having parents that did rentals, so we kind of could
Sure,
see
that's
to
true.
some level what it was like. Um, so I mean, yeah, I mean, there were certain things that were going through my mind when I was kind of asking myself, like, what would be like a really like original idea? Um, like Einstein's theory of relativity, the way he described how he came up with that. Um, like someone probably would have thought of it.
You mean
But
eventually, or
yeah, but um like that was something that crossed my mind. Like certain people, like it feels like once in, a couple generation type of person has some sort of idea. And
yeah, and like
then
in physics? I mean, I don't know.
yeah, so I don't know. I just the thing that I keep coming back to when it's talking about like when it's saying it's bad theft, like I don't know, like I keep coming back to patents. Like, should we be able to develop on what other people have built? Because, like, to me, he's saying everyone's doing it anyway. So why is anything protected?
Are you're talking about like drug pants again?
I'm talking about any patent, but yeah, you can use drug patents, I guess. Because
Right. Okay. Okay.
like the way I heard about how like Toyota was founded, this the guy from Japan
Mhm.
comes to America, analyzes the assembly line, like, and then reverse engineers it back in Japan. And that's how Toyota was started, basically. Or that's how they went from the what do you call it? Textile business to like manufacturing cars. So like this to me sounds like, I mean, that seems kind of like, oh, that really feels like stealing to me because he's like actually going, seeing what someone's done and taking back. And on one hand, we're saying, that's okay. That's kind of like copying. We're kind of just reverse engineering. Um, I don't know. I'm having trouble in my mind. Like I kind of get where he's going, but I'm having trouble wrapping my mind of like this world that he's writing about, and then like the world we're actually living in with patents.
Okay. So like, you picked a bunch of science fiction books, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So all the words in those books are part of the English language for the most part, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably all found in the dictionary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So should you just be able, so does anyone have ownership of all those words?
No, that's my point.
Right, but it's so like you think anyone should just be able to take, so the next book we're doing, whatever the next book we're doing is, you think anyone should be able to just take all of the words that that author has combined in that sequence and just print it for money?
Well, so like, yeah, this is the part where I have trouble with. That's what I'm saying. I'm having trouble wrapping my mind.
The issue is the incorporation, bringing all the ideas together and bringing all the parts together. Like the Toyota example I think is a little different, but bringing all the parts together is in many regards the difficult point.
But
Like
I
that
guess
is
my
the
point
difficult
is,
part.
a lot of times you're always building on something that someone else has done. Always. Like there's
Okay.
never,
Yeah.
you're always using information, you're always using some sort of source, and they're saying, just credit the source. But like in my mind, a lot of times people are building things that are from tools that have already been built and that they're using. So without those other tools, they wouldn't be able to produce what they're producing. So why should the final product have some sort of protection when the inputs to their product aren't really protected in the same way?
Well, I think probably at some point the inputs were protected, right? Or no?
Perhaps this is my struggle. This is where I kind of have I don't really know. I don't really know um I guess enough about how things are protected and but I do start to question should they be protected really? Because like honestly, if Kiyosaki wanted to take my book and like talk about it and steal it, I would say and actually he Gunderson said that Kiyosaki basically stole his one of his books, published it under Kiyosaki's name, and Gunderson's response was like it I'm happy for you to steal my stuff because you have a bigger audience. I want you to steal my stuff actually, but just give me credit. So that's kind of my and then they had like a partnership deal. So this is like kind of like I don't know. I'm just I'm not really sure where I what answers I want, but I feel like this book made me think a lot about once again pads.
I mean, I always the ones that I'm most comfortable with are, I guess, the drug or chemical space patents. And at the end of the day, if you couldn't, I stand by firm that at the end of the day, if you couldn't patent the chemical space that you're trying to make a drug for, no one would ever spend the capital for the inputs to do the research. I just don't think it would happen.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, some people still enjoy tinkering. I mean, Edison enjoying tinkering. There's athletes that enjoy playing soccer or basketball or whatever, that there's no guarantee they'd ever make anything of it. And they invest hours and hours and hours doing it.
But okay, but
Um,
the investment is like just they're just astronomically different here. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people investing hours and hours and hours. And I think the average cost to get a single drug to market now is over $1 billion. I
well,
don't see who would invest that time, 10 to 15 years and over $1 billion.
that's a lot of athletes. That's what they're investing. They're investing 15, 20 years. I mean,
They
how is that
investing
any different?
billions of dollars. I mean, they're not investing really that much money.
I wouldn't view it so much in dollars. I would view it in time. I would view it in how much time the human hours.
Right, but you have to have the startup capital to do this. Like if you want to go invest your time playing basketball, that's fine. All you need is a ball.
Hmm. But but I mean, someone could tinker with chemicals outside too. I mean, right?
Jack, you don't understand the well, how are you going to do the testing? The regulations are just monumental. To
Well,
even
well, well,
apply
well,
to
that,
the
well, that
FDA is over $1 million.
well, well, that's what I'm saying. Some of this expense you're talking about is from outside pressure. It's from regulation.
Right, but
It's
that is the world we live in.
right, and that the question is, should that exist? I guess that's what I keep coming back to. Like some of these regulations, these patents, some of these restrictions, should they exist? We're talking about a book that's talking about learning from others and building upon former generations. And then on the one hand, in the real world, sometimes we say like, no, like you shouldn't do that. Like that's plagiarism or you're stealing from others. And I don't know. But yeah, and actually, this got me, and to this point of writing the book you want to read. I actually found a guy from the Ayn Rand Institute, and I'm going to interview him on the very like strict definition of capitalism,
Right,
like
who?
what it is, what
Who are
is
you,
isn't,
who are you interviewing?
and his name's like Dan Norton.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to be interviewing Friday actually, so that should be good. But yeah, I guess so. Out of this book, I guess I got that at least.
Okay.
Okay, we
Well,
probably got off topic. Why don't you go to the next
no, I
one?
mean I feel like that was all good on like originality. The next point I had was I guess just essentially the second chapter, just titled I just have written take action. I think the point of the chapter is don't wait until you know who you are to get started. This actually brought me back to I guess our second episode, the 50th law, where, sort of coming back, he was saying, I think his actual terminology was like act before you're ready. And I feel like this author is saying is like you have to take action to just go out and do something. Uh, really before you even really know what you're doing or who you are or what you want to make. And you said there are like two paths, and it's on page 30. Yeah, so fake it like you're saying fake it till you make it. So like just act like you know what you're doing until you're doing. And he says there are two ways to read this. Pretend to be something you're not until you are. Fake it until you're successful until everybody sees you the way you want them to. Or pretend to be making something until you actually make something. which I feel like is I don't know, like the pretending to make something until you actually make something. I feel like that is a common thing. Like people just talk about, like how many people have you met that have just like talked about doing things but never really actually do them?
There was a ton. And a lot of people that don't do a lot of stuff are ironically the people that give a lot of advice.
Wise, right.
He did make a point on advice. I think this is from earlier, but all advice is kind of, I think he said autobiographical. They're basically like talking to like their past self.
Yeah, that's
Um,
how he opens the book.
is it?
All
Okay, yeah.
yeah. It's like
Um,
all advice is like what I wish I could tell my younger self. I think was
yeah.
his wording, which is like an interesting way to think about giving advice. Because actually, as he said that, I was thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, this is true. Like when I give advice, like when you give advice, you think about your life in the past tense. Or no, do not do that.
Um,
I feel like when I give advice, that's what I do.
I guess it depends. I feel like a lot of lifestyle type of decisions I normally use myself, but like some other things like I don't know, like financial, I try to be forward looking, because like I would not necessarily tell someone now to go buy a house. Just yeah, just like general. I mean, I wouldn't say not to, but I wouldn't like tell them, yeah, you absolutely should. Whereas like before I would have. Um
You saying just to buy a house to live in or like to house hack?
to live in.
Would you tell people, because I feel like I actually just did this. I was talking to like a 21-year-old whose parents were gonna help him buy a house, and I was like, "Are you gonna get roommates?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, getting buying a house and getting roommates, I think is like still one of the best ways to make a lot of money."
I mean, yeah, house hacking I would be for. I'm just if you're not going to house hack, it's not really as a slam dunk, I think, as it has been.
Okay,
Um,
that I do agree with. I think if you're not going to house hack and you don't have a family, I don't know if I necessarily.
I don't even know if I would. I mean, I'm in the process of right now of selling some rentals, and I'm probably going to buy more Bitcoin. So I'm not as high on real estate uh, going forward. But yeah, I mean, sorry. So yeah, I mean, don't wait until you know what you get started. I mean, I actually had some like, I mean, I already mentioned the Toyota thing. I wrote that in this section for some reason, but I guess because I wrote down the quote, this line, copying is what reverse reverse engineering. Um, oh, copying is about reverse engineering. Sorry, and like I also wrote down like the Japanese with like pizza and waffles. The Jap, I had like one of the best pizzas I ever had in Japan. And I've
Yeah.
had some of the best waffles that I've ever had in Japan. And I feel like the Japanese are just good at like going, finding some product that they like, and then trying to make it better.
Yeah, so that's actually, I mean, obvious there's a real lot of chemistry that comes out of like China, Japan, Korea, a real lot of Nobel laureates that have come out of Japan. And the one thing my advisor always said was the Japanese were the best at taking something that kind of works and making it work really well, but they weren't really great at creating new things.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Okay,
for what it's
yeah,
worth, that was my advisor's thoughts on Asian culture.
yeah, and like the point is like if you had, well, I don't even know how patents work across borders, but like if you couldn't make, if like another country didn't have the ability to maybe see something and make it better, like, do we really want to live in that world? Like, wouldn't we want the best stuff available? Like that's kind of like the part where I kind of get a little hung up on uh, some of the protections, but I don't. We don't need to talk too much more about this. It's like, but I don't know. Do you have anything else
Well,
on?
I mean, I feel like I guess real quick, I mean, I feel like to the point you just made, that is essentially the title of the sixth chapter of this book is do good work and share it with people.
Mhm.
Uh, well,
But right, if you share it with people and you don't allow people to use it, is that the best?
Patent's allowed, you can use it. You just have to either license it or, pay for it, or someone is doing that to use
Hmm.
it. But I guess
Okay.
the main point I had from I guess that section was literally the most important thing is to do something, is to just act, is to
Hmm.
move forward instead of instead of to take no action. Because if you take no action, then nothing happens and you never create anything. So I felt like that kind of was just the you just need to do something. You just need to go out.
I mean, even making a crummy decision, at least you have to go and like learn something or correct your behavior in some way. Because like the
Right.
best people, they're often just iterating more than you. They're making more decisions
Mm.
per unit of time.
Yeah, and they're learning from their mistakes
Yeah.
and then getting better at making decisions.
Yeah.
Uh so the next bullet point I had was like create what you like. I think we sort of touched on that. Uh
Hmm.
the point after that I had was work with your hands slash have hobbies. I think this is something else we've touched on quite a bit. Uh, Work with your hands. Like he was talking about he was talking about having like an analog versus a digital desk at his office. So, he could cut up newspapers, like do paper mache, color, sketch, do all these things with physical material and on one desk. And then, after he was tinkering with that, he would then go to his digital desk and kind of like mock everything up on his computer and do the final edits. Uh, the other point, have hobbies, something I feel like we talked about blank in Ikigai, or I'm blanking on how you pronounce that.
You got
Ikigai, right? Of just having like essentially being able, I don't know, was the thought or the idea of like allowing your mind to like wander away from like your main point to kind of allow you to come to a point of inspiration. And yeah, I mean, he talks about this idea of bouncing between different projects. I feel like I find this a lot at work, where if I'm working on one thing and it's kind of like slow going, I'll switch to, I'll just independently switch to a different project. And then, I feel like I'll make some progress on there. And then it's weird how often it actually happens is that I feel like I'll be working on something totally unrelated. And then, yeah, and then it's like literally like I have a moment of inspiration where some new idea comes to me about the other project. Uh, I don't know. I guess you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good definitely to have hobbies. I think we've talked about this in, I don't know if it was mastery or, but oftentimes the people that win like Nobel Prizes and, whatever discipline often have like some sort of, I think there's a disproportionate number that play instruments and are kind of bouncing around in languages. And yeah, I think it's good to stay fresh, and I think it's good for your brain to bounce between different things. And I would say probably good for longevity, because it makes you think. And yeah, the using your hands part, I feel like especially when I was like living my cube life for like, over a decade. Um, I do feel like a lot of people have this issue where they feel like they're disconnected from the world because like you're kind of just like staring at this box and like typing away, and it's not nothing really like physically is changing in front of you. Whereas like if you're, if we're building a brick barbecue, we get to see what we're making and we're kind of like using our hands and our minds at the same time. But like when you're just at the computer, you're kind of just using your mind. And he had a line that said, "Art that only comes from the head isn't any good." So I was like kind of thinking about that and kind of wondering how I would want to incorporate that in my life or how the listeners could. And I guess one of his solutions was kind of doing things or mapping things out on his like, dial or analog area with like what you said, like paper mache and stencils and papers and whatever. And then when you're for the final product, you go to the computer. Um, and I was thinking like, making a vision board that's kind of like using your hands and like kind of a project and could help you, visualize what you want to see. And I mean, I don't know what the studies show, but I know a lot of very successful people that use vision boards. And that seems like an art project. So I don't know. I'm definitely wondering how I could use my hands more. Um, and I kind of thought I should start playing piano again more because it seems like every time we go back to Michigan, I play a lot, but for some reason when I'm here, I don't play that much.
You just have that keyboard, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just working with your hands, I feel is just more of a it's just like a different type of gratification, I think, that you can't get from just sitting at a computer, like sending emails and doing everything. I feel like
Mhm.
physically, I say this, I like say it as a joke a lot, but like I'm not really that joking. But like one of the things I'm the most proud of is, yeah, building that brick barbecue and like building my brick mailbox. And it like sounds, I feel like comparatively, it sounds stupid, but. I mean, every time I drive to my old house, I still look at that mailbox. It's still there. It still collects the mail. When we go home, Dad uses the barbecue.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's just a different type. It's a different type of gratification to be able to see a tangible use out of the work you've done that I
Hmm.
don't think you can achieve. I mean, even like I do use my hands, but like I don't really see the end product of like what I'm doing. I just make some stuff. I put it in like a vial and I hand it off to some people and I never really see what happens to it. I mean, uh, I'm sent data from what I make, but I don't really know what happens to it. It's just like it's a different feeling. It feels good to see like what you took time to build be used. Um, it's definitely I
Yeah.
don't know. I find it very gratifying to build things.
Right. And I think it kind of touches to the point, like, we have this like modern world and it clashes with our wiring as humans. Um, that's kind of how I view it. Like it's like the combat of two different worlds. So you kind of have to pick what you're willing to tolerate and um, yeah, kind of weigh those when you're choosing what type of life you want to have.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The last topics I had for talking was just be nice. This also kind of resonated with me. I mean, the comment like be nice, like if you're an artist, I got this a lot too. Like you live in a small, it's like you're in a small community. So if you treat people poorly, it will get around. And I remember we had one professional development meeting literally talking about this, which was like people that have PhDs in chemistry, there aren't a lot of you, so if you start acting like a jerk to people, it like everyone will eventually know, and you don't want more or less don't want a bad reputation. And then the last thing I had was essentially be boring. And he wrote out, have a regular life. Don't be like one of these, typical like artists that people talk about where you're out all night drinking and doing drugs. Uh, I thought the good thing was get a calendar and sort of track all your progress. And he's saying like success is really just a slow accumulation of small events. And I think that's so true. Is like we talked about that in Atomic Habits, like building off of the previous successes. It's like every achievement is built sort of like what we were just talking about for the last hour. Like every achievement is built upon a previous achievement, and it's like all just building up to, the final success. Yeah, and then he says keep a logbook. So after reading this, I was looking at buying a calendar and then maybe actually keeping an actual journal of like logging everything I've done in a day or I do in a day. I don't know.
Yeah, in terms of the calendar, I'm doing Mark Moss's time audit right now. Mark Moss, I forgot what the website is. I won't. But if you look up Mark Moss like time audit study, you'll probably find it. But he's got a study where you like break your day into 15 minutes and you're like tracking what. So I've been doing this for 2 weeks now, just to see where my time's going. And well, his idea is kind of coming from a business perspective to like figure out what you're doing over and over so that then you can outsource it. But yeah, I think it's good to track what you're doing and stacking small wins. And I heard another good line the other day. I can't remember who said it, but they were saying the successful people know how to find more wins. And I thought that was interesting. So they're like tracking more things, and if they're even making little improvements on any of those, it makes them feel good. And then they use that to build on itself. So I mean, I've tried to start tracking more things. Like I track how many letters I mail in a day. I track how many emails I add to my email list every day. I track how many Facebook posts. I track how many emails I send out. So yeah, there's just like the more things. I mean, I also kind of appreciate like I don't want to be like so crazy with tracking because sometimes like especially people in personal finance, they try to like optimize like everything. And like I don't think that's really healthy, but I appreciate tracking certain things. And you got to be careful what you track because whatever gets measured gets managed.
True.
And
Very
so,
true.
so like I could see this at a personal level and then also like a country level. Like should like GDP, for example, we very much pay attention to, but like you could make the argument that that maybe should not be the thing we track or keep track of. Um, that, that was just something that popped in my head, but yeah. But and then it also, I mean, I mean, one of the actuarial study guides I use, you're basically tracking like three goals a day or three tasks, and you're, reciting something you're grateful for every day. So like journaling in that respect, I do like, and it is helpful for sure.
Good. Um, yeah, I think that's I don't know. You have any final thoughts, Jack? I think that's about all I have written down.
Um, I mean, yeah, I think I'm about good. I mean, I had other stuff, but I think it'll pop up in other books, honestly. So
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, please reach out to us at brothersonbooks@gmail.com for any book recommendations, or if you'd like to be a guest host for a particular book you have in mind, a great review or rating on whichever platform you're listening to this would be greatly appreciated. And lastly, if you can think of any friend, family member, or coworker that might like this episode, please pass it along. I'm Jack Allwild, and with me, as always, is my brother Alex Allwild. Al, it's been a pleasure.
It
And
has.
next time we are discussing the great Philip K. Dick's book, Time Out of Joint.
Looks like we bought different copies, but
Yeah, looks like it, yeah.
that's okay.
But yeah, and it's a book about a guy that suspects the world is an illusion after he keeps winning the lottery day in and day out.
Yeah,
So I'm excited about this one.
should be a good one.
Okay, until next time.